I hope you do a lot of time, 'cause what you did was such a crime. Had to decline, 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 had to decline.
Hello everyone, you are listening to episode 3 of the WideShut Webcast here on the Resistance Radio Network. As always, I am your host Keelan Balderson, and you can check out all of my work at wideshut.co.uk. And for everything Resistance Radio, check out resistradio.com. And of course, be sure to follow the show at blogtalkradio.com/Resistance Radio, where of course you can hear us all live on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, which will be the Mr. Brit Show of course. And each show is at 8 PM UK time. So please help us spread the word. Now, despite a lot of the technical difficulties we've had over the last few episodes, we've had nothing but positive feedback. I personally enjoy all of the shows. I don't just listen because I'm a host. I think everyone on board has something unique to offer, whether it's Matrix USA by Jay, giving us a US perspective, or Todd Fletcher keeping the 9/11 information out there, or me and Britt that try and look at a broader range of things. I think we've got a well-rounded and interesting network, and let's just hope the technical issues get ironed out. So that being said, can everybody hear me clearly in the chat room? If you can, drop me a message. I think there's a little bit of delay, so I can't tell if you've got what I'm saying yet, but if you can hear me, just say yep, I can hear you. Lots of people filling up. Yep, okay, good. I'll ramble on then. Actually, I will apologise for last week, as the live quality was pretty poor and I dropped off for a few minutes last week. For those that don't know, I have a little office in a wooden summer house separate from the actual house, so the wireless internet is pretty weak. It has to reach from inside the house behind a couple of walls to get all the way to the bottom of the garden, so Skype quality is pretty bad. So if it does get a bit jumpy or staticky, just bear with me. There's probably not anything I can really do, but eventually I will buy a large sort of wireless aerial to pick everything up well. But for now, if quality is poor, I do also record a show simultaneously through my microphone. As I'm speaking now, I'm recording it on my PC and it's going out to you, so the archive will always be a better quality than the live show if you ever want to listen back. So all those links you'll find on my website. I'll put a link to the high quality MP3 in the show description of the archive on Blog Talk Radio, so if you sort of bypass the streaming and just click the link in the description, that'll get it in high quality, and I'll also put it on YouTube afterwards and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, in keeping with this truth music theme, which we kind of, well, all of us have been playing some pretty good songs recently. At the start of today's show, you heard the pretty funny Hide the Decline ClimateGate song, and I did just want to touch on climate change a bit today, because something really bothered me over the weekend. As some of you may or may not know, I'm working on a new film about the Bank of England, the national debt, the deficit, all that kind of thing. And I was watching some G20 videos as I was gathering different things off the internet, and I saw one lady protesting about the government's non-action on climate change. You know, because I guess they're not doing enough already. I guess they're not promoting it on TV. I guess they're not investing in inefficient green energies or calling for carbon trading. You know, I just guess they're not doing enough. And this is what really annoys me about the green movement. In their bubble, they think they're the anti-establishment. You know, they think they're the rebellious, revolutionary types that are going against the grain and forcing the evil government to take action on climate change. Well, that's not really how it's working. If anything, the green activists are the establishment, and they're giving the elite exactly what they want. They want all of this climate change alarmism, and they want to get through all this legislation. And this video I was watching, this lady was dressed up in a sort of stereotypical, you know, like an old Victorian aristocracy, you know, in a big dress and sort of with a little hat on. And she was walking around the G20, you know, sarcastically going, "Oh, climate change doesn't exist, dear. Us upper class know it's all not real," in a really sort of sarcastic way, as if to say the rich are trying to block action on climate change. And I think we can go to David Icke's famous saying here, we're in topsy-turvy land. Everything's back to front. It's the rich that are pushing for the climate change action. So just listen to this clip that I'm about to play here and sort of see if you understand what I'm getting at with this annoying lady. Let me just pull this up. Here we go.
Global warming is a myth, darlings. It's all just a preparation. We've all been told lies after lies. They just don't want us to make money, darling. I'm here to uphold the rights of all bankers to make as much money as possible and to get our bigger bonuses, protect our gold-plated pensions. And I'm afraid, darling, this climate change nonsense is trying to threaten all that. And I won't have a bean of it.
She won't have a bean of it. Okay, what this lady is demonstrating is a concept called cognitive dissonance. Despite some of the richest people in the world pushing global warming and the legislation and the taxes and that we must do something, you know, Rupert Murdoch on Fox admitting that they sneak global warming alarmism into all of their programming. BP taking out, BP taking out green energy adverts in magazines and newspapers. I subscribe to the Council on Foreign Relations trade journal, Foreign Affairs. Maybe it's not the best thing to have my address on one of their databases, but I've got a big stack here, and nearly every page is some big corporation or oil company advertising green energy. You have a member of the Rothschild family writing books about how the polar bears are drowning and how we've all got to buy smaller houses to save the planet. People like Bill Gates, Maury Strong's an obvious one. Despite all these uber-rich people, these really rich, powerful people, it's easier for this woman, psychologically, to pretend that it's the rich that don't believe in climate change. Yes, there's upper class people that probably don't, but I'm talking the super rich. And it's easier for her to think it's the rich that are stifling all of these activists, and so she can get a high from sort of fighting against these evil forces in her twisted world that don't actually exist. She wants to be anti-establishment, but really she is the establishment. And, well, I'll be honest, I don't know her, do I? I mean, she could genuinely believe this stuff, and she probably does. I mean, a lot of people are well-meaning. But what I'm trying to say is, I think a lot of the green movement, a lot of these university students, they've got a lot of, energy they need to get rid of. They kind of like thinking that they're fighting the powers that be, when really they're turning up to pre-arranged protests, being given nicely designed signs that have already been made for them. They're being funded by extremely wealthy groups like Greenpeace, and they're allowed to demonstrate. Climate change protests are some of the most, tolerated protests out there. You go out there protesting the banks, you get your ass beat. But climate change protests are some of the most common and allowed protests to happen. And the news always covers them. Why? Because the globalists want CO2 legislation and things like that to go through for control. And that's what really made me laugh kind of way back at the Copenhagen climate conference. Thousands of people turned up to protest. And I'm like, what are they protesting for? The powerful people in this meeting agree with them. They're the ones promoting the idea of climate change. But as I said, a lot of these people are well-meaning. I mean, you have things like Mums Against Climate Change, these innocent little groups where these, loving mums think they're doing the right thing when they're really kind of being manipulated by more powerful groups. Your average, climate change activist probably doesn't know about the Club of Rome writing documents saying we need to use environmental issues to control the population, or how carbon trading schemes are really just a huge displacement of wealth and a way for the richest corporations to stifle their competition, because obviously the richest corporations can buy the carbon credits. Smaller ones that are growing and expanding can't afford to, because all this added tax on top. It's a way of consolidating power. These average well-meaning people, they don't understand that trying to force poorer countries to go green keeps them from developing and keeps them poor. Like what Henry Kissinger calling in Memorandum 200, a way to keep the third world from becoming competition to the elite, to their bank balances. And I was actually quite active on this climate change debate, about a year ago. Some of my earlier YouTube videos were about Copenhagen and ClimateGate, and I was a big supporter of Lord Monckton. I'm not too certain what his motives are now after, kind of looking into it. But as far as climate change as a whole, I've kind of changed my tune a little bit. I'll put my hands up and say I don't know for 100% fact that climate change is 100% scam. I'm not a scientist. I'm going to put my hands up and say I'm not a scientist, okay? Neither is Greenpeace, of course, but the point is, I think we're at a point right now that it doesn't matter if global warming is real or not, because the solutions of global governance, of carbon taxes, of using the IMF and the World Bank to create a green fund, all of these things I know are scams and have been put in place to rape us of our wealth and to control us. Even if I believed in global warming, I'd still be against all of these solutions and these things that they're putting forward. So, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know for a fact whether it's real or not, but I know what is a scam, and it's all these things they're trying to get us to do because of this global warming. And, of course, there is the point as well that, well, what does it really matter if it rises a few degrees? Has anyone really stepped back and thought, well, if the temperature goes up a few degrees, doesn't that just mean, we can grow some nicer vegetables in England? It's like, why is there so much alarmism about it? Because this whole thing about all the ice melting and waking up the next day underwater and stuff, that is alarmism. That's not even what the scientists are saying. What is the problem with a few degrees rise in temperature? More CO2 if that's the problem. More CO2 means more more breathing for plants, which means more vegetation, which means more crops. And if it's hotter in some of, the Western countries, then we can grow more produce, you get a more abundant earth.